And so the two teams out once again. Billy Wright on the right, Simonian on the left. That's a shot of the teams from our radio camera. Howe, England right back. Mishagig in the middle of the three officials. And from now onwards, only a goalkeeper may be substituted. There is Johnny Haynes, number 10, the man who scored England's goal, with Bobby Charlton. And one of the bandsmen obviously lost his music, which has now been presented to Mushagig. He just winged it away towards the touchline. The linesman on this side is chasing it. There it is. Well, I wonder whether that linesman can read music. So, off we go for the second half. England and the white shirts leading by 1-0. And within 10 seconds, the inevitable throw in. Now the throw to Russia, taken by Kisarev to Vonyov. Charlton coming back to play Vonyov out of the game, up to Haynes. Lofthouse. And it's Kuznetsov who cuts it off. Ilyin, the Russian, very, very slow to move to the ball. Haynes, a lovely one through the Lofthouse, back to Douglas, number 7. Now to Haynes. And up goes Lofthouse, and it must be a goal. No, he was behind the line, but that ball dropped on the line. That's a very dangerous position for the goalkeeper to take. He was standing behind the line, but I don't think there's any doubt that when he dropped, that ball was not over the line. Now number 10, Mamedov, and almost catching McDonald unawares. That is the second time that Belyayev has been caught standing behind his line and diving forward onto the ball. A very, very dangerous practice for the goalkeeper. At least it gives the 100,000 crowd here something to get excited about, and are very anxious for something to get excited about in this international. Clayton up to Charlton, number 8. Bad one from Charlton. Kisarev. Finney. England throw. Slater to Douglas. And then Douglas gets it into his head to do quite a spot of roaming. Slater. Simonian is wandering deep roll now to number 11, Ilyin. Lovely one for Ivanov if he's got the speed. But Ivanov might have had the speed, but Shaw's got the control. And most important from England eyes, the ball to Howe, up to Clayton, to Douglas, Kuznetsov now out to the centre forward, Simonian, Ilyin, number 7, Douglas, now Haynes to Lofthouse, and a goal kick to Russia. Well, judging by this first 3 minutes of the second half, the England forwards have been told to use Lofthouse's power in the air, swing the centres across, worry the Russian defence so that Lofthouse can leap up to them. Slater. Lofthouse calling it to bring it forward. Ivanov. Ivanov to Voynov. Ivanov once again. Leaving it now to Mamedov. Ivanov, a lovely one to Ilyin. And Howe. And the whistle has gone. And a free kick for a foul by Ilyin on Howe. That is, it was Haynes who took that free kick, coming right back to help his defence. Lofthouse leaving it for Douglas. Charlton moving down into the middle. To Lofthouse. Russian defence terribly slow. Sare to Simonian, number 9. Ivanov. The outside right, Mitrovelli. Beaten for the umpteenth time by Shaw, who had no trouble at all coping with Mitrovelli, or rather he's made it look as if he's had no trouble. Ivanov. Shaw, bad pass. He was breaking up attacks very well, not using the ball as well as he might, but let's remember this is his first international. Suffering of course from nerves. Mitrovelli through to Mamedov. Voynov. And offside. 5 minutes of the second half gone. England leading by 1-0. That goal they scored 5 or 10 seconds before half time. Brilliant save by the ball boy. Shaw once again beating Mitrovelli up to Lofthouse. Haynes. Through to Lofthouse, a lovely pass. And Kuznetsov who gives away a corner. Finney with the corner. Up to Slater. Clayton. Now it's Ivanov coming away for Russia. Mitrovelli all on his own on the right wing. Shaw had been drawn out of position. Lovely centre to Simonian. The best move so far by the Russian forwards. Lenkin to Ilyin. Mamedov, number 10. And it's going to be a corner kick to Russia. Ilyin with the corner. Strange way to take a corner kick. I think we'd try and get a shot the next time there is a corner. The linesman on the side on which the corner is being taken runs right down to see that the ball is put in the quarter circle, and as soon as it's positioned properly he raises his flag to signal to the referee that it's all right for the kick to be taken. Voynov, number 5. I'd be very surprised if he scored against Colin MacDonald from that range. And spot of elbowing by Maslenkin. Free kick to England. And that one taken a little too quickly for the likings of Mushagui. Shaw with the free kick for England. Well, this is going to be fun because the IF won't like being challenged. Notice the panic which sets into these Russian defenders just because Lofthouse went to harass the goalkeeper. Haynes up to Douglas. Up to Ivanov. This Russian defense tediously slow when he gets the ball. Simonian. Zarev. Number 6. Minutes of the second half gone. 1-0, England leading. There's Lincoln. Up to Slater. Haynes racing away to the right wing. Douglas is in the inside right position. Charlton. Back to Haynes. And Douglas rather getting in Lofthouse's way. Mamedov, number 10, to Mitrovelli. Mitrovelli never moved from that touchline. Ilyin, and it's a goal kick to England. No wind to help the goalkeepers with their goal kicks. In fact, anything, the wind is against MacDonald. Wind which is beginning to freshen a little. Ilyin winning a corner. Short one to Simonian, to Ilyin, to Voynov. The Russians almost apologizing as they push the ball forward. There's force at all. Now to Finney. Charlton. Up to Douglas. And Simonian having to come all the way back to show his defenders how to get into the tackle and even to use a shoulder charge. That's Simonian again, number 9. And to Ivanov, a lovely reverse pass. Mitrovelli, the first time he'd left the touchline, was standing right in front of an open goal. And here's Billy Wright turning himself into a forward. Finney. Throw to England. Lofthouse. And a corner kick. This really is a rickety Russian defense. Finney with the corner kick for England. Douglas. Power into Wright. Wright to number 4, Clayton. Douglas to Clayton. And the corner kick. Douglas with the corner for England. corner kick. Can you imagine? There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Russian defenders all there with ample time to clear. And now the Russian defenders have started to argue with each other. Finney with the corner kick. Back to Shaw. Kuznetsov. Clayton to Haynes. Douglas just inside him. There's Douglas. Making a present of it to Charlton. Charlton trying to play it on the wrong side of that centre back. And to Ivanov. Clayton to right. Now Clayton again from Howe. Douglas is up now on his right. This Douglas number 7. Back to Clayton. Mamedov. Simonian. Now Ilyin. Metrovelli completely unmarked. It's Metrovelli. Ivanov leaving it to Mamedov. And Mamedov is offside. The Russians looking a dreadfully poor team for the side which has just finished its season in Sarev fouling Charlton. Up to Meslenko. Charlton to Douglas. What a poor clearance, and Haynes has got a second. Well, the Russians are now teeing them up for England. Second goal for Johnny Haynes after 17 minutes of the second half. And this England team now should be able to toy with the Russians, and there is no reason at all why England shouldn't run up almost a cricket score. Certainly there can't have been a worse international defence at Wembley for a long, long time. Now Clayton again, and England well on top. And Yayev wishing now that he'd stayed with Moscow Dynamo instead of coming to England. Simonian, number 9. Metrovelli. Simonian. Metrovelli. The Russians, of course, have suffered very greatly in the past because they've only exercised their national team against very weak opposition. In fact, before they went to Sweden for the World Cup, apart from the game with England, all they played in 1958 were 2 games against the Republic of China, and they only managed to win one of those. Ivanov. Mamedov. And that was a brilliant save by McDonald. He couldn't have seen that ball for more than
the splitters of split seconds. Howe to Clayton. And Mamedov. Simonian. And the ball moved by the Russians so slowly it's almost laborious to watch them. Kuznetsov. 20 minutes of the second half gone, England leading by 2-0. Voynov back to Meslenkin. Ivanov. Haynes to Finney. Back again to Finney. And Zarev just getting his toe to it. Serve to England. England still playing much better now than they did in the first half, but the Russian opposition woefully weak. As of course one expected from any of the international ratings. Russia have always been a vastly overrated side by many people. Mamedov. Simonian. Ivanov. Simonian. Notice how slowly the Russians move the ball. All the England defenders were able to come back, get into position. Charlton. To Haynes. Clayton has moved forward. Goal kick to Russia. Zarev walking into trouble, but he's getting a free kick. Charlton penalised for charging him in the back. Number 7, Douglas. Lofthouse is flagged offside. And the rain beginning to come down once again. Mamedov. Finney back to Shaw. Zarev to Voynov, number 5. Right half is number 5, but remember in the Russian team. There he is again, Voynov. Mamedov, the inside left. Haynes to Lofthouse, but Meslenkin has watched Lofthouse very, very well this afternoon. One of the few Russian players who will want to remember this game. Ivanov, Ilyin is in the middle. Voynov. Haynes taking that short clearance from Slater out to Douglas. Billy Wright is off. Should think there's much wrong with him. And we've got a jar on his thighs. Charlton comes through. Douglas. And it's Ilgi in the outside left. Back there with his defence. Cross to Ivanov. Simonian. Russians go backwards, then take it slowly, giving everyone time to get back in position. Zarev to Mamedov, number 10. Ilyin. Charlton, way across to Finney. To Haynes. Haynes' favourite chip pass, but there's Lincoln there. Haynes once again. Slater to Finney. Not a good one to Charlton. And a goal kick to Russia. "20 minutes left of this most uninspiring international. England leading 2-0. Mitrovelli giving what one can almost call a typical Russian pass. There seems to be no cohesion in this Russian side whatsoever. Shaw. Kuznetsov to Maslinkin. Shaw taking it brilliantly. Throw to Russia. Mitrovelli. The inside right, Ivanov. Mamedov, no power at all behind his shot. It's Douglas. Haynes moving down the right wing. Beaten by Voynov. Voynov again to Zarev. Mitrovelli. Mitrovelli again. Simonian very slow to move with that one. It only needed a touch. It's into Mamedov, number 10. Ivanov trying to come through. And Slater getting it away to Haynes. To Zarev, to Maslinkin. Zarev. Shaw being beaten once or twice now by that chip pass to Mitrovelli. The linesman has flagged for a corner kick. The referee at first gave a goal kick, but it is a corner. Kuznetsov. Voynov chipping it forward to 1, 2, 3 Russian forwards who are offside. And that's Clayton who suddenly started to limp. So he got a crack on the ankle. It's all right again. Voynov. Simonian to Ivanov. Voynov, the Russians getting in each other's way. Later to Shaw. Now Voynov. Ivanov to Simonian. Howe to Slater. To Haynes. Clayton. He's moving very quickly into position. Oh, I wonder what went through the mind of Mr. Belyayev then. Quarter of an hour left to play. England leading by 2-0 and Haynes taking the corner kick. Douglas. Feels that the England forwards are ready to do anything from these corners. Just put the ball in the middle and sooner or later the Russians will put it in their own net. Money beating right, Shaw covering very nicely up to Clayton. Finney. Clayton. Ivanov. Charlton beating him. Illy with the throw to Ivanov. Back to Zarev, number 6. Ivanov. Simonian back to Voynov. 1, 2, 3 Russians offside. Free kick to Haynes. Loftus. Charlton. Loftus moving down the middle. Brilliantly intercepted there by the centre back, Lenkin. Mamedov, the inside left. To Douglas. Douglas to Clayton. Back to Douglas. Russians seem to rely on a system of retreating defense. They just come back all the time. They very rarely make any effort to tackle. Yet as soon as the ball gets into their own penalty area, panic spreads through the ranks. Slater to Charlton. Finney. Charlton. And he's doing it. Already lots of people leaving the stadium. Just under a quarter of an hour to go. We don't often see that at internationals at Wembley. Zarev. Voynov. Simonian. And Clayton penalised. He's tackling it from behind. Crossed out to Ivanov. Loftus. Charlton. Clayton. Charlton once again. Charlton walking into a lot of trouble now. Simonian. Incredible to see an international team move the ball so slowly, pass it so badly as this Russian team. And Charlton. That was coming down the middle. That'll be a corner kick. Douglas with corner. And Lofthouse immediately goes tumbling to the ground as Casares gives away another corner. Short one to Finney. Haynes. And that's a hat-trick. Well, my goodness. And no wonder Mas Lincoln held his head in his hand. 10 minutes to go and Haynes scores his hat-trick to make it 3-0. Haynes has got 9 goals in his previous internationals for England. Now he's got 3 in this game. Lofthouse coming down on the slippery turf to try to change direction quickly. As Lincoln, the one Russian success, deciding to come up to show his forwards how to do it. Ivanov. Howe. Charlton back to Clayton. There's Lenkin. To Ilyin. Ivanov once again a fortnight too slow. Haynes to Clayton. Douglas. Charlton. Right, Clayton. Douglas. Right. Going to be pointing for a free kick. The Shageen wave play on. Howe to Douglas. Kuznetsov. Once again. But the one man on the field, Shaw, the Russian centre half, as Lincoln, who had almost consistent applause from the spectators. Haynes. Across to Douglas. Two Russian defenders waving their arms about and keeping out of position. It must be a penalty. It is. Kuznetsov has been trying long enough to give it away. And Bobby Charlton is going to take it. The moment I thought Lofthouse was, so that he would equal Finney's scoring record, but it's Charlton. Four goals to nil. And 6 minutes to go. First victory since they beat Portugal in May by 2 goals to 1. There you can see the spectators streaming out as they have been doing for the last 10 minutes. The first half in which England were as bad as the Russians. The second half in which England have improved and are coasting home to an easy 4-0 victory. Even off. Even off again, this time getting it to one of his colleagues. Away come England. Haynes to Lofthouse. Lincoln, Charlton to Haynes. There's Lincoln now looking up at Charlton. And beating him. Kisarev. There's Lincoln. Simoni. 4 minutes left for play. Madoff easily beaten by Howe. Simoni. Kuznetsov. All the Russians offside. Up goes the flag. When the ball is pushed out by the English defence's short clearance, and the Russians gain possession, the Russians seem completely mystified while the England backs and half-backs move up the field. The Russian forwards just stand there and they get caught offside every time. Lofthouse back to Charlton, to Haynes, to Douglas. Charlton to number 7 Douglas. To Haynes, to Finney. Coming forward. Lofthouse to Douglas. Corner kick. Okay, the linesman's back. You notice it, that's the signal the ball is placed properly. Another corner kick. Haynes back to Slater. And up went the flag. Lofthouse was offside. So too was Douglas, rather on his right wing. Taken again, the ball go out of the penalty area. Payton, Douglas, Howe to number 4, Faith. Up to Lofthouse. And that's a goal! Brilliant goal by Lofthouse. And the crowd have risen to Lofthouse for that brilliant goal. I think most of us realise that means that Lofthouse has equalled the record, and it's 5 goals to 0 with a minute to go against the dejected and very third-rate Russian side. Right, it's up to Lofthouse again. Voynov to Maslinkin. Mamedov's calling for it. Goal kick to England. The final whistle has gone, and England have won by 5 goals to 0. Her first victory in an international match since May, when they beat Portugal here by 2 goals to 1. The goals, the first 3 scored by Haynes, the 4th from a penalty by Charlton, the 5th in the very last minute by Nat Lofthouse, who thereby equals the England scoring record again. He now shares it with Tom Finney with 30 goals. England an easy victory against one of the worst international sides we've seen at Wembley for a long time. So with the final score, England 5, Russia 0, we say good afternoon to you from the Empire Stadium, Wembley, and return you to the studio.